Good morning, Morai Rabotai, Biruchim Habayim. We are continuing on Masechet Rosh Hashanah. We are at Vav, Amud Aleph, 5 lines up from the bottom of the Amud. Today's Amud is being learned as a Schud Rufah Shel for Daniel Moshe ben Farangis Abraham, Rachel Simcha bat Nahid. This week's learning of the community has been graciously dedicated by the Shei family and Mabubi families. Should be an ultimate schut for all the mishpachot. Amen. So we start Amar Rava. Kevan sha'avar alav regel echad over base. We discussed already in the Gemara that everyone agrees we had 5 different shitot of when you are going to transgress the mitzvah of Bal Ta'cher. When is it late? When you donated a korban, a neder, a nedava, and we had our shitot, but everyone agrees that the first chag that comes along, you have a mitzvah aseh, a positive mitzvah you do have to bring it right away. That everyone agrees. Now what happens, says the Gemara, Gemara says, Rabba said, Kevan shavar alav regel echad over basim, and the Gemara asks a question. Hey, Rabbi Yoshua, Vera Papias, al vlad shlamim sheyikarev shlamim. The Gemara brings a discussion, which is from Mishnah Masechet Temura, that if you have a korban shlamim that you separated when it was pregnant, or it became pregnant afterwards, that vlad, that baby that's going to be born, is also korban shlamim. Now this is a machloket Tanaim in the Mishnah between Chachamim and Rabbi Eliezer. Chachamim say that the vlad that's going to be born, you can bring it as korban shlamim, right? You get 2 for 1. Rabbi Eliezer says, no, you cannot bring it as korban shlamim for a very simple reason, because what happens if the vlad of korban shlamim also becomes shlamim? People, we're concerned people are going to wait, say, oh, it's pregnant, it's not nice to shecht it, the baby's going to die. So they're going to wait, the baby's going to be born. You can't shecht the baby right away. So you got to keep it and say, well, we have this baby, it's now 20 pounds. If you wait another year, it's going to be 120 pounds. Right? It's going to be amazing. More meat. Right? You got to keep it. Before you know it, people are going to have babies and then flocks of korban shlamim. And if you have flocks of korban shlamim, what's going to happen? Things are going to get mixed up. And before you know it, you're shearing your crop, and you're going to have a problem of having hana'ah from the giza, from the tzemer, and from the meat of korban shlamim, because everything is going to get mixed up. And a korban shlamim is hekdesh. A kodashim you cannot use any. You can't have any benefit from touchim. So therefore, we don't want, it's like a real liability to have this roaming around. Says Rabbi Eliezer, therefore we make a gezerah that the baby you cannot bring as korban shlamim. What do you do with the baby? It's machnisin ota lekipat. It will enter it in a closed area and let it just die, right? That would be the din of korban shlamim's baby, according to Rabbi Eliezer. So machloket chachamim and Rabbi Eliezer. So says the Gemara, Heid Rabbi Yehoshua v'Rab Payas al velat shlamim sheyikarev shlamim. This Rabbi Yehoshua and Rabbi Pias, they testified like Chachamim in that Mishnah that the baby of a Korban Shlamim also will be a Korban Shlamim. We're not so concerned about what's going to happen. People are going to mix up. People are going to be careful. So baby could be Korban Shlamim. Amar Rabbi Pias, he said, Ani me'id, I have a personal edut, a personal testimony to give. I remember this is still in the times of Bai Cheni. So we had a para of shlamim that was pregnant. And what did we do? We ended up eating it on Pesach, korban shlamim on Pesach. And we ate the baby on Chag HaSukkot 6 months later, right? So says the Gemara, if you tell me now, what's the question? The question is, first of all, Chazak Baruch, you gave a dude like Chachamim versus Rabbi Eliezer. Amazing. Secondly, Mar says, wait a second. So this baby was born already by Pesach, and you are waiting Pesach and Shavuot before you bring it on Sukkot. Says we ate it on Chag HaSukkot. What happened with Pesach and Shavuot? How can you wait? If you tell me that if you wait a Chag, you're over on Mitzvat Aseh of bringing the Korban that you separated right away. So this was born before Pesach, obviously, because the mother was shechted on Pesach. So you could have shechted on Pesach. You could have shechted it on Shavuot. And you waited these two Chagim. What in the world was that mutar for Pias to do? Simple question. You're telling me that I'm going to be over when I wait one Chag. They waited two Chagim over here, right? Says the Gemara, Echi Mashile. How did they wait around and not shecht this baby until Chag HaSukkot? Ve'avri ala ba'aseh, and they're over on Korban Aseh, and Papias is so proud. Says, I remember we did this, right? How can you do it? Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Tzvi, Mishmed Rava. Rav Tzvi said in the name of Rava, Kegon. By the way, this obviously we skipped the line here. I think the Gemara says, I understand why in Pesach lo akrivua, 2 lines up, Bishlama be Pesach lo akrivua, imor de mechusar zman ava. We could understand because that was mechusar zman. There is a mitzvah in the Torah, oto ve'et beno lo tishhatu biyom echad. When you have a mother that gives birth to a baby, you cannot shecht the mother and the baby in the same day. You at least need 8 days between them, at least, right? Actually, once ran a research of different animals, how sensitive they are, emotional attachments of the baby to the mother after birth, and it is crazy that it is 8 days in this thing. It's a pretty awesome thing to think about. But for those 8 days, you cannot do it. It's a Isur Doraita. So you have to wait, for obviously. So if they did the mother on Pesach, we can understand why the baby could not have been shechted, because it was Mechusar Zman. He has to wait, right? But what happens with Shavuot, says the Gemara? Hechi Mashila. And Chag HaShavuot, how did they pass Chag HaShavuot and they're not over on Aseh? So says the Gemara, Amar Rav Tzvi, Mishmed Rava, Kegon Shehaya Chole. The case is that this animal was sick on Aseret. And the Mishnah teaches, the Gemara teaches us that a sick animal you cannot bring as a korban. And since you cannot bring a sick animal as a korban, you're obviously not going to be over ba'aseh. I want to shecht it as Shavuot, but I can't. So if I'm stuck not being able to shecht it, of course I'm not going to be over. So I attempted to shecht it on Shavuot. It was sick. I couldn't do it. So Shavuot is a one short day. And therefore, they had to wait until Chag HaSukkot. Gemara gives another answer also over here. Rashi Amar, Mai va'achalnu v'rada shlamim b'chag. Rashi says, I could even suggest a different answer. Chag, obviously, generally speaking, is a reference to Chag HaSukkot. But Chag could be any reference to any of the Chagim. It could be also to Chag HaShavuot. So says Rav Ashi, let's suggest, Mai va'achnu achalnu v'lada shlamim b'chag. This that it says that we ate the vad, the baby, as a korban shlamim in Chag, is Chag HaShavuot, not Chag HaSukkot. And the other Amorah says, no, you cannot say that. Whenever you're comparing the Chagim together and you say Pesach and Chag, it must be Shavuot, because if it was, it must be Sukkot rather, because if it was Shavuot, it would say Pesach and Atzeret. Whenever Shavuot is mentioned next to Sukkot in the Tanaic works, it's always mentioned as Atzeret, not as Chag. Chag is a reference very specifically saved for Chag HaSukkot. Fine, but we have an answer. Amar Rava. Now, Rava said, first of all, if you wait a Chag, you're over right away in Mitzvat Aseh. But you think that's bad. Worse than that is Kevan she'avru alav gimel regalim. Once you waited the 3 regalim that passed on this korban, bechol yom vayom over bebal tacher. Every single day now you're going to be over on bal tacher. Every day. Every day that passes, you're over on bal tacher again. You had 3 chagim until you were over on Bal Tacher, but now that you're over on Bal Tacher, every single day you're over on Bal Tacher. Now, let's clarify this. When you have to pay a worker on time, right? If you didn't pay the worker on time, he came to you, we mentioned this before, that you're only over on Baltalin when he asks you, he bills you. He sends you a bill, please pay. You have the money. If you don't pay and the day finishes, you're over on Baltacher, right? If he doesn't ask you on the day of, then you're not. Again, it has its details as it is discussed in Choshen Mishpat, in Siman Shilamet Gimel. But nevertheless, if he asked you, he billed you, and you didn't pay, you're over. Now, tomorrow morning, are you over again? 2 days later, are you over again? Does it count every day? No. You're over once. Done. So why is it that you're over here every single day? So simple understanding based on the Meiri and the Ritba is very simple. Because Korbanot, can you bring at night? No, you can't bring Korbanot at night. It's only during the day. So every day, whenever you have a time that you cannot do a mitzvah, and then a time comes for it again, when you have a pause in between, every day now you're going to be over again, right? Mashenkin, when you have an obligation financially to pay somebody that worked for you, once you hit the Isur, the day passed and you didn't pay, you already transgressed. I know your obligation is pay up. There's no stop to that obligation that I should be over again and again and again. It's one continuous thing. I have to pay. But I'm not going to have a new lav of Baltalin once I had it once. I was over once. But over here, every night, it stops. We can't bring a korban at night. Tomorrow morning, I can bring it. Again, I'm going to be over on it. So says Rava, Bechol yom vayom, every day, you got to, and that, by the way, explains why it's not every second, right? Why is it not every second? Because a korban that you have to bring today, you can bring the whole day, right? So once you're over in the morning, then the rest of the day is the same isur. You have a suggestion for Brit Milah now like this. For instance, if a person has on Yom HaShmini, you have a Brit that you have to do. So we have a mitzvah of Zrizim Maktimim LeMitzvot, right? There is a mitzvah that everything that you could do during the day, the earlier during the day you do it, the better it is. Vayashkem Avraham Baboker, Avraham wakes up early in the morning, Zrizim Maktimim LeMitzvot, right? There's a whole debate what exactly takes precedent. If you have Zerzim Maktimim LeMitzvot is one, it's one important thing, but also Berov Am Hadrat Melech is one important thing. So if my family is not going to be there at Nets, if I do Brit Milah right after Nets at 7 o'clock, so it's going to be like 10 people there, 15 people there. If I wait until 8:45 Persian time, which means 12, right? Then it's going to be like 300 people there. So, Rav Madrat Melech versus Zirzim Baktim Mitzvot, that's a real halachic question. But it's not asur necessarily in the 8th day. But once I didn't do the Brit Milah on the 8th day, so now I was over on B'yom HaShemini Timor Besar Orlato. The 9th, every second that I could do the Brit, the nights is not an option, but every second that I could do a mitzvah and I'm not doing it, I'm going to be over at that. You know, something very interesting comes out of this. If you have a baby that is on the 9th day. It's not a mitzvah bismano, right? It's not a milah bismano. For whatever reason, he had, jaundice. It was an issue, a questionable Shabbat, whatever it is. And now is on the 9th day, 10th day, whatever it is. And I have another baby that is a brit bismano, right? Which one takes precedent? So we all would say, milah bismano takes precedent. It's the 8th day, right? But not necessarily, because if every moment you're over on not giving a brit milah to this baby, the 8th day kid, you only have a mitzvah of zerizim maktimim lemitzvot. It's a hidur. It's a hidur to do it as early as possible, but do the whole day basically, right? Sometimes that is the psak. Sometimes for whatever family reason, whatever you have Rav Amhadat Melech or whatnot, you do it in the afternoon. You're not over on anything. It's just a lechatchila of zerizim maktimim lemitzvot. But by the other kid, every moment that you could do it and you're not doing it, you're delaying a mitzvah and you're over on not giving it a brit on time. So therefore, perhaps now you're going to be putting the brit she'eno bismano before the brit bismano, because that every second counts. But for the 8th day brit, it does count, but it's just the lechatchila of so be that as it may, says Rava, once you pass the 3 regalim, then every single day you're going to be over on a new lav of Bal Ta'achir, right? Now this would be also, for tzedakah would be a different story, because tzedakah you perhaps could give on night and day. It's not like korban that you could only be giving during the day. You could bring it during the day. So you have to discuss what is the isur of Bal Ta'achir after 3 regalim when it comes to tzedakah. But before that, says the Gemara,
Pesach, he wasn't out there because he couldn't do it on Pesach because of the 8-day requirement, right?
correct. No, we mentioned that Pesach they couldn't do it for the previous case because it was too early.
Right.
But why didn't they do that? Shavuot, the Gemara answered that the korban must have been sick. Okay, so we close that, and now Rava says another thing is, if that's for the mitzvah aseh, right? So once one chag passes, you're over on mitzvah aseh. But once 3 chagim pass, you're over on a lot aseh. So on that, Rava says, you're not over on lotase only once. Every single day, it's going to be another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. So it says the Gemara, they asked the Beit Midrash a question. A strong question. Echad bechor, ve'echad kol hakodashim. Whether you have a korban bechor, or any kodshim, kevan sha'avru alehem shana belo regalim, or regalim belo shana. Once 1 year passes, even if 3 regalim have not passed, or 3 regalim pass, even though there hasn't been a full year, over bebal tacher. You're over on bal tacher. Now, obviously, this is a question on Rava that says every day you're over on bal tacher. So the Gemara says, what's the question exactly? Well, hi, my tiyufte. What is the question from this? So fine, I hear. If a year passes, even though the 3 regalim haven't passed, you're over on Bal Tacher. Or 3 regalim without a year, you're over Bal Tacher. Fine, but what is the kasha on Rava? So the Gemara says, I'll tell you. Amar Rav Kana, man the kamotiv shapir kamotiv. It's a good question. What's the question? Michti Tana alavika mehader. Because this Tana is coming to tell you how many lavim is coming to tell you how soon can you be over on a lav. So if you're already looking for more lavim, you should have told me that once it hits 3 regalim or a year, every day you're going to be over on a lav. The fact that it doesn't say it, it's mashma that not every day you're going to be over on a lav. The one says, what? That's true. He's the Tana is not looking to see how many lavim you're over. The Tana is looking to see how early you're going to be over on a lav. Not how many. It's when do you hit it first? That's the question. So Gemara says, "Hitni bechol yom vayom over bebal tacher." You should have said every day you're over on bal tacher. Ve'idach, and the other Amora disagrees, says no. Tana lemik belav kamehader. The Tana is looking to tell you what's the earliest time that you're over on bal tacher. In other words, if you tell me I have 3 regalim, right, or a year. So if I have a year, if I find the case that I have a year without 3 regalim, am I going to be over 1 year past? Maybe yes, maybe not. Or 3 regalim without a year. So 6 months passed. I went through 3 regalim. Am I going to be over or not? This Tana is coming to tell you yes. If you hit either of them without the other one, you're going to be, whichever one comes first, you're over on Bal Tacher. If a full year passed, you're for sure over on Bal Tacher, even if you didn't have 3 regalim. Or we're going to ask that, right? We're going to ask that. Any good questions Jews ask. So, or if 3 regalim passes without the year, you're going to also be over. So what I say is like this. We're not coming to ask how many extra lavim you're going to be over, but how early are you going to be over on Bal Tacher? Obviously, once you start being over on Bal Tacher, maybe this Tana agrees that every single day you're going to be over on another one and another one. We're not discussing. So now the Gemara says, okay, wait a second, let's put this on the pause. This whole rava of every day being over, because as Rabbi Abraham here asked, we have a better question. We have a bigger fish to cook. You just told me that if I hit a year without 3 regalim, I start being over on Bal Tacher. How does that work exactly? Ufa. Echad bechor ve'echad kol hakodashim, kevan she'avru alehem shana belo regalim, regalim belo shana over Bal Tacher. Either or. If 3 regalim pass without a year, or a year without 3 regalim, you're over on Bal Tacher. I understand. Regalim beroshana. Finding 3 regalim to pass without a year is very easy, right? All you need is right before Pesach, you made an eder. So Pesach passed, Shavuot passed, Sukkot passed. In 6 months, you already went through 3 regalim in order. Amazing, right? Shana belo regalim. How in the world are you going to have a year pass without having 3 regalim? Think about it. So says Gemara, now let's go reference the 5 shitot that we had. Rabbi Shimon's shita was you need 3 regalim in order, right? So that's very easy. If you need 3 regalim in order, that's easy to find, because if you made a neder right after Pesach, right? If the regalim have to be in order of Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, so if I made a neder, I said this korban I'm going to bring as a korban ola, right? So and it's after Pesach, so they have to wait until Shavuot. The clock hasn't started even. Sukkot still hasn't started. I have to wait until next Pesach, which is just 1 week short of a whole year, until the clock starts. So I'm going to be waiting 5 chagim, which is a year and a half, for me to have gone through 3 regalim in order of Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. That's easy. But if you need 3 regalim, but the order doesn't matter, then how do you have it? Then a whole year passed without having 3 regalim. So it says, how do you find that? According to Rebbe, you can find such a case. In a shana me'uberet. Because when you have a shana me'uberet, if you do after Pesach, right after Pesach, right? You made a neder of bringing this animal as a korban olah, and it was right after Pesach. So shana me'uberet has 13 months instead of 12, and if you count 12 months, you're going to end up with, right, the 22nd of Adar Bet, right? 23rd of Adar Bet. The whole year has passed, 12 full months have passed, and I yet have not hit the 3rd Chag, which is Chag HaPesach, right? What? Leap year, yeah, a regular leap year. 12 months have passed, and I still have not hit 3 regalim. I only have hit Chag HaShavuot and Chag HaSukkot. Still waiting for next month to have Pesach. The Tanya, as we learned in Braita, Shanat Mima, Rabbi Omer, Mone 365 Yom. This is a very, very interesting thing. If you say a Shana, what is the definition of Shana? So Rebbe says we count 365 days, which is a solar year, a full solar year, like a solar year. That's a year, Shana. Chachamim disagree with Rebbe and say, no, Moneh Yud Bet Chodesh Miyom Leyom. We count 12 months Miyom Leyom. And if the year became pregnant, if it became a leap year, it's good for him. What is the discussion? The discussion is Bate Arechoma. In Eretz Yisrael, when you sell land, right, after Yovel, it comes back. Goes back to Shvatim, with one exception. The cities that were walled from the time of Yehoshua ben Nun, Bate Arechoma, we learned this whole, in Masachet Megillah, we learned the Ayarot Mukafot Choma from this, right? That we see there are cities that are different than other cities in the Chumash itself. So Bate Arechoma, the cities that were walled, if you sell them, that sale is final. It's mitut, says the Torah. It's forever. But it has a caveat. The caveat is, from the day that you sold it, you have 1 year to redeem it. You have 1 year to back out. If you back out in that 1 year, it's good. It goes back to the owner. If you didn't back out on the sale within 1 year, then it's la smitut forever. It's going to be la koneoto for the person that bought it, and it's not going to go back in Yovel, right? It says this in the Chumash itself, right? All the Batei Arechom. So says the Gemara, what is this Shana that the Torah talks about? So that's Machloket Tanaim. Rebbe says, when he says Shana, it's a solar year. We're not going after HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem Rosh Chodashim, Rishon Hu LeChodshei HaShana. We're not going after a lunar year or a Jewish year. We're going after a secular solar year, 365. Chachamim say no, it's a Jewish year, not a lunar year, but a Jewish year. Jewish year, as you know, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem Rosh Chodashim. How's Jewish year, by the way, come to reality? Because it says which means you go after lunar year, right? But lunar year is actually shorter than solar year by 11 days a year, right? But us is not like that, because Nisan always has to be, like for Muslims that they follow the lunar calendar, right? Ramadan every year is 11 years behind. So you can have it deep in the winter, you can have it deep in the summer. For us, Pesach always has to be in spring, right? Because Lemoed Chag HaAviv, the Torah says. So we always have to. So therefore, whenever it's falling too far from Chag HaAviv, we add an Adar Sheni to make sure Pesach is always in the season of spring, right? So Chachamim says that is the year that the Torah is talking about, the Jewish year. So it's 12 lunar months, and if you happen to have every fourth year almost, we have a Shana Me'uberet. So if you have a Shana Me'uberet, the seller gains, right? Now you have 13 months in that year. So says the Gemara, Mashkachat lo l'Rebbe, the Akteshah Batar Chakamatzot. So according to Rebbe, you could find such a case that right after Pesach, you made this neder, I'm going to bring this as a korban olah, and it happens to be a Shana Me'uberet, right? So a Shana, according to the Torah, passes by 365 days, right? But this year is not going to be 365. It's going to be 354 plus 29. How much is that? Do the math, right? The math gurus, right? 354 plus 30 would be 80. 84, it's going to be 83, right? So 83 days you have as your year. So 365 passes. According to Rebbe, a whole year has passed, but you haven't hit Pesach yet. And that would be your Shana. a Torah year without having 3 regalim. Right? The Chimata Shili Adar Batra Shalam Malia Regalim Lo Malu. When you get at the end of Tag at the end of the year, 365 days have passed, but you have not gotten even close to Pesach yet because of the Shana Me'uberet, and therefore you'll have it that way. Now, according to Rebbe, you could have it. According to Rabbanan, it's going to be very difficult. According to Rabbanan, you only have 12 months, right? A Jewish year you have. So how can you have a year without 3 regalim? We just mentioned that a year, according to Rabbanan, is a Jewish year. A Jewish year, Shana Muberet, also is considered 13 months year. So how can you have 13 months without having 3 regalim? You're not really stuck, right? Now, the way the Gemara gets out of this is just genius, amazing. Is the sport of the days, which Bezat Hashem we're going to discuss tomorrow morning. It's like a little